The Philadelphia Eagles just got a serious jolt of energy and leadership right when they needed it most. It's official, Brandon Graham is back. After a short-lived retirement, the Eagles legend is returning for his historic 16th season in the NFL. And let's be honest, this isn't just a feel-good story. This is a critical move that could shake up the entire complexion of the Eagles' defense as they head into a tough stretch of the season. Now, this news didn't exactly come out of nowhere. Ever since the Eagles pulled off that strong win over the Vikings, the chatter started building. Fans were hyped about the victory, sure, but behind the scenes, the focus quietly shifted toward what was going on with BG. Would he come back? Was it just speculation? Or was there something real brewing? Turns out, the wait didn't last long. Early Tuesday morning, the Eagles made it official. Brandon Graham was coming out of retirement, and he confirmed it himself with the same fire and joy he's brought to Philly for over a decade. The return was teased by insiders, leaked by reporters, and finally confirmed by the man himself on his podcast. And when you hear him speak, you can feel that passion hasn't gone anywhere. Graham made it clear, he's not back for attention or a victory lap. He's here to compete, to contribute, and to help a team that still has serious championship aspirations. His message was simple, no expectations, just excitement to suit up and give it everything he's got. And let's be real, this isn't just a nostalgic comeback. It's a strategic move. The Eagles desperately needed help on the edge after some recent setbacks. With injuries piling up and production dipping, getting someone of BG's caliber back in the fold is massive. He's not just a body. They're getting a proven playmaker, a locker room voice, and one of the most respected veterans in the game. Even if he's not back to playing 60 snaps a game, his presence alone is going to lift the energy across the board. But of course, there are some real questions about what kind of impact Graham can have right away. This is a guy who's been out of the game for a while, missed time last season with that torn triceps, and is coming off a Super Bowl appearance where he re-aggravated that same injury. He didn't go through training camp. He didn't have a full offseason with the squad. So yeah, it would be unfair to expect him to hit the ground running like it's mid-season form. Even Vic Fangio addressed that, reminding everyone that it's not just about conditioning. It's about being in football shape. Contact shape. That only comes with reps and time. Still, the coaching staff believes that once BG gets his legs under him, he can be a meaningful piece in the rotation. And with the Eagles scheduled to face the Giants this Sunday, Graham could already be making his season debut in a matter of days. That's the kind of momentum shift that can ripple through the locker room. And while Brandon Graham is the headline, he's not the only reinforcement the Eagles are getting. There's more help on the way. Nolan Smith, one of the team's most explosive young pass rushers, appears to be right on the cusp of returning. He's been on injured reserve for the last month, but all signs point to him being back in action right after the upcoming bye week. In fact, he posted a cryptic message on his Instagram story that simply read, "One more week," which lines up perfectly with the initial recovery timeline. Smith's return could not come at a better time. The Eagles have been starving for consistency and pressure off the edge. And if you think back to the second half of last season, Nolan Smith started to find his rhythm at just the right moment, especially during the playoffs. He was racking up sacks, applying pressure, and causing chaos in opposing backfields. That's the version of Nolan the Eagles need again, and soon. If he returns to form, suddenly this defensive front starts to look a whole lot more dangerous. And speaking of pressure, there are two other names that need to be in this conversation, Jalen Carter and Jalen Hunt. These guys have been right there, on the verge of making noise, but haven't quite broken through with sacks yet. According to recent stats, both Carter and Hunt have racked up over 21 quarterback pressures this season. The crazy part? They're the only players with that many pressures who still haven't recorded a sack. That's the kind of stat that screams imminent breakout. It's not like they're playing poorly. They're winning reps, getting into the backfield, and disrupting plays. The sacks just haven't come yet. But with reinforcements like BG and Nolan Smith joining the rotation, maybe that extra bit of pressure will finally turn those near misses into game-changing plays. Sometimes, all it takes is one guy drawing a double team to open the lane for someone else. And if the Eagles can start finishing those pressures, this entire defense could flip the switch fast. Now, unfortunately, it's not all good news. The Eagles are still battling the injury bug, especially on defense. Azeez Ojulari suffered a hamstring injury in the Vikings game, and early signs suggest he won't be suiting up against the Giants. That stings. He's been a contributor off the edge, and his absence makes Graham's return even more crucial. With one veteran out, getting another one back could help keep the rotation fresh and effective. Then there's the situation at cornerback. Adoree Jackson went down with a concussion, and it's unclear if he'll be ready in time. If he's ruled out, the Eagles will have to decide between a couple of young and proven options. Kelee Ringo came in after Jackson went down and held his own, but there's also the possibility that Ja'Kian Bennett could be activated off injured reserve. He's been recovering from a pec injury, and if he's cleared to practice this week, there's a shot he could be available. Fangio sounded cautiously optimistic, but stopped short of making any commitments. He admitted that neither player has really separated themselves yet, but both have shown enough flashes to stay in the mix. The key will be practice reps, especially for Bennett, who hasn't had much field time this year. So that battle might come down to the wire. For now, Ringo probably has the inside track just based on recent experience. Another name to keep an eye on is defensive tackle Moro Ojomo, who left the game late with a possible concussion. There haven't been any firm updates yet, but if he's diagnosed, you can assume he'll be in protocol and likely sidelined for at least this week. That's another spot where depth could be tested. And then there's the offensive line. Center Cam Jurgens quietly played through a knee injury suffered on the very first play of the game, but eventually had to come out. He tried to brace it up, but the pain was too much. He's scheduled for an MRI, and while the severity isn't clear, the concern is that he could miss some time. Not ideal for an offense that values continuity in the trenches. But let's end this segment with some real optimism, because one guy who made a huge difference last week was Nakobe Dean. After missing significant time, Dean returned to the lineup and instantly elevated the run defense. The stats back it up. The Vikings were held to under 100 rushing yards, something no team had done against them all season. But more than that, the eye test said it all. Dean was everywhere. 6 tackles, 1 for loss, and an undeniable presence that brought energy and physicality back to the middle of the field. That's exactly what the Eagles were missing in that ugly loss to the Giants a couple weeks ago. Back then, they got gashed on the ground, looked slow to react, and lacked that spark at the second level. Now, with Dean back, the defense just feels more alive. He's still young, still developing, but his instincts and motor are already making a difference. As he gets more comfortable, his impact is only going to grow, especially as the Eagles shift some pieces around, including playing Jayad Campbell more off the edge. And hey, there's even more juice coming this weekend. Sunday's matchup against the Giants is not just a divisional showdown. It's the first Kelly Green game of the season. The Eagles are undefeated in those retro uniforms so far, sitting at 4 wins and 0 losses. The vibes are right, the timing feels right, and now with Graham and others returning, the momentum could be swinging right back in the Eagles' favor. With all the attention on Brandon Graham and the pass rush upgrades, it's easy to forget that the Eagles still have work to do on several fronts, especially when it comes to consistency on both sides of the ball. Sure, they bounced back with a strong performance against the Vikings, but this team knows better than anyone that one win doesn't erase the issues that have been building. That's why this upcoming rematch with the Giants isn't just another game on the schedule. It's a measuring stick. It's a chance to prove that the Eagles have actually learned from their mistakes and that they're ready to put together a more complete performance, especially after how badly things went down in the last meeting. That previous loss to New York wasn't just painful, it was a wake-up call. The Giants, led by a scrappy and aggressive young group, came in and took it to the Eagles in every phase. Whether it was the run game, the pressure off the edge, or the tempo they played with, New York simply looked more prepared. And for a team with playoff expectations like Philly, that's unacceptable. Now, with reinforcements back and more time under Fangio's defensive system, the Eagles have a golden opportunity to rewrite the script. But it starts with discipline, execution, and most importantly, matching the Giants' intensity, something they failed to do last time. Offensively, the big concern right now is protection. If Cam Jurgens ends up missing time, which seems likely, the Eagles will have to shuffle the interior of their offensive line again. Brett Toth filled in admirably when called upon, but losing a starting caliber center disrupts rhythm, timing, and communication. That matters a lot, especially with a defensive front like the Giants that loves to send pressure through the A and B gaps. The Eagles will need a strong game plan to protect their quarterback, get the ball out quickly, and establish the run game early to prevent the defense from teeing off. The good news is that the backfield seems to be settling into a groove. With the offensive weapons healthy and the ground game picking up steam, the Eagles should be able to lean on their running backs more than they did in that previous matchup. That also takes pressure off the quarterback and gives the offense more balance, something that was sorely lacking in their last loss to New York. They were too one-dimensional, and when the Giants sniffed that out, it was basically over. That can't happen again. And while the offense works to regain its identity, the real spotlight will be on the defense. Can they stop the run consistently? Can they generate real pressure with four? Can the secondary hold up long enough for the pass rush to make plays? Those are the questions that have hovered over this unit all season. And the return of guys like Dean, Graham, and soon Nolan Smith gives hope, but hope isn't enough. They need results. They need dominance at the line of scrimmage and smart, physical play on the back end. This is where the leadership of guys like BG matters so much. His presence lifts the energy, holds players accountable, and reminds everyone what the standard is in Philadelphia. The guy is a walking example of effort and heart. When young players see him busting it every rep, they respond. When the team gets into a tight spot, having someone like Graham in the huddle can calm nerves and reset the tone. That's the kind of leadership that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but wins games. Another interesting development to watch is how Vic Fangio manages this rotation moving forward. With so many edge rushers coming back into the mix, and young guys like Hunt and Carter ready to break out, the Eagles suddenly have depth. That wasn't the case just a few weeks ago. But with depth comes decisions. Who gets the snaps? Who earns the key downs? That's where Fangio's system and coaching philosophy will really be tested. If he can maximize this group's talent, this could turn into one of the most dangerous front sevens in the league by season's end. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments, and let's talk birds. Rumors are swirling through the NFL like wildfire after Gardner-Johnson dropped what could be the league's most explosive off-season hint yet. In an interview that is sending shockwaves across social media and sports news outlets, the dynamic safety reportedly opened up about the possibility of signing with the Philadelphia Eagles. The statement, brief but undeniably charged, has left fans and analysts scrambling for answers, speculating on what could be a major shift in the NFC landscape. Sources close to the player claim that Gardner-Johnson didn't hold back, giving what many are calling a tell-all vibe that he is seriously considering Philadelphia as his next destination. While no contract has been signed, his comments have already triggered a frenzy online, with Eagles supporters flooding forums and Twitter threads with excitement and anticipation. Some insiders suggest that his move could fill a glaring gap in the Eagles' defensive lineup, potentially reshaping their strategy for the upcoming season. The timing couldn't be more tantalizing. Philadelphia, coming off a season with defensive highs and lows, seems to be in the market for a game-changing presence in the secondary. Gardner-Johnson, known for his aggressive playstyle and knack for making big stops, would bring exactly that. But is it too soon to call it a done deal? Not according to the chatter in NFL circles. Multiple anonymous sources hint that discussions have been ongoing, and that the player's recent comments might be a subtle signal to put pressure on other teams to act quickly. Of course, in the world of NFL rumors, caution is key. Gardner-Johnson has a history of keeping his cards close to his chest, and while his words are suggestive, nothing is official until ink hits paper. Yet, the excitement is palpable. Analysts are already theorizing how the Eagles' defensive schemes could adapt to his presence, imagining a lineup that could rival the league's best. For now, fans can only speculate, debate, and dream about the electrifying impact his arrival could have on the city of brotherly love. One thing is certain, Gardner-Johnson has officially stirred the pot, and as the NFL offseason continues to unfold, all eyes will be on Philadelphia, waiting to see if this explosive hint transforms into one of the season's most shocking signings. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.